first MMA fight, I was dopesick in the back, you know, withdrawing off heroin, you know, and went out and fucking.
Wow. They have this thing where it's like, if you're an addict, you're pretty much an addict for life.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. I know for today, just for today, I'm not gonna drink. I'm not gonna fucking do coke. I'm not gonna pop a pill. Just for today, I'm not an addict.
Martial arts in particular,
Right.
was like, call me a functioning alcoholic, but I had to be there, regardless if I was like hungover.
I don't know where I would be necessarily if I didn't have martial arts or jiu-jitsu or any of the, being at the gym in general, you know, like school was never my thing. Fucking working a 9 to 5. I've always fucking hated clocking in. And then he's like, I tap.
Yep.
I'm like, nah, motherfucker. Like, you don't get to tap now. Like, you just went fucking ape shit for fucking a minute, 30 seconds.
Right. It's a different kind of like, it's not like he goes around saying like, I'm a fucking brown or black belt or anything. It's just when he goes, it's kind of like, oh shit.
Like, he still comes to class. Like, you know, he might not be diving into jiu-jitsu. Right. You know, but he's still doing everything. He's still showing up to class. He does pro class.
Yep.
You know, he still shows up and he does everything. And he's a UFC champion.
What's your biggest tips for people that are going through what, you know, we've gone through, or personally what you've gone through?
Because you don't have to lose your mind, right? Like, you can stop and get yourself back and bring yourself back to life.
What triggers you to relapse?
A bunch of things, but I think one of the main things that triggers me to relapse that I'm learning is my own insecurities.
Yeah.
Kind of the stuff I'm dealing with and stuff within me.
What are those? Can you give me examples of some of those insecurities that you have? Because just on a quick side note, we'll get into it. That you know, I know that you're an addict, and I'm also an addict. So I think it's just powerful for people to know what kind of triggers it and like the habits and what forms addiction.
For sure. So I mean, just one example is just, I think, not being happy with me and just kind of learning. You know, I'm just now starting to learn, you know, who I am. You know, so I feel like me not knowing who I am and not knowing what I'm about is one of the biggest triggers. I feel like for me personally, you know, so that's why I've been, you know, recently trying to dig in and, you know, been huge on therapy, huge on group therapy, and you know, I'm just trying to figure out who Shane is and go from there.
What, during that therapy, what have you figured out about yourself in particular?
When I'm using, I'm a very insecure guy. Very insecure. You know, I mean, I can't lie and say that when I'm clean, I'm not insecure, because I mean, I feel like we're human. We all have insecurities. I feel like that's part of human nature. But when I'm using, I'm just very insecure, very destructive of my life. You know, very love drama, love creating drama for my life.
It's very self-sabotaging.
Very self-sabotaging.
Yeah.
Very self-sabotaging.
Yeah, you know that, and I think it surprises a lot of people that know you. And, you know, we do see each other at the gym. You're my coach, and we train and stuff. And I think that's what shocks the majority of people, because, you know, when you do walk around and you're on, and that's most of the time, you know, you're so friendly, and not that you're not, but you're very friendly, and then you joke around a lot, and people, you know, you're this badass fighter and jiu-jitsu practitioner, and then all of a sudden you could joke around with that. That reminds me of like your post where, you know, you can be dressed in like a onesie pajamas, and then I'm thinking to myself, I was like, man, he could dress like that and he could take my girl and fuck me up. So I'm not even gonna like say, you know, you really are that kind of guy. Like, it's but he's like the nicest guy in the world, right? So there's this like kind of conundrum. It's like, but I think back to the point, it's kind of like when we talk about this kind of stuff, especially people that rarely know you, you know, they're like, whoa, like, I didn't think that, you know, Shane could be like that. But like you said, we're humans and we all have our vulnerabilities.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think just now recently, like even just this past month, I feel like my level of getting to know me more is making me more confident. Like just lately, I don't know what it's been. I mean, it's got to be, like I said, me working on me, but my confidence and just I feel like my insecurities are kind of going away, which is like it's a beautiful fucking feeling to just know that I'm holding myself to the standard that other people see me, and just like knowing I'm that fucking guy.
Right.
Because I have to believe I'm that fucking guy before anybody else does.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of let's say skeletons in the closet, right?
Yeah,
like people
sure.
don't know,
Right, right.
like say for me, we were just talking before this podcast, and when I was drinking, I'd drink up in my room, kind of like not a suicidal kind of thing, but when you're drinking up in your room with just whiskey by yourself, that's a sign. It's not good.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a lot of skeletons in the closet, and we're all human. And what else have you been doing besides therapy to kind of get to know yourself, that you are that guy, to prove to your own self that you are, fucking Shane Shapiro, the real Shane Shapiro?
Yeah, I mean, just other than therapy and kind of just digging deep and getting to know me, just one thing that I've been doing that's been helping me tremendously is triggers and writing down, like I'll have like a notebook, and then I'll be journaling, and let's say I get something triggers me throughout the day, I'll kind of jot it down and just kind of learning, what triggers me, what sets me off, what makes me feel better, this and that, and then just going back and kind of seeing what I've done throughout my I don't want to say career, but just like my journey, like how much I've overcome, even though I've fell off the horse a million fucking times, withdrawals and coming back from relapse, but just looking back and seeing like, fuck, man, like I've done all this, not really knowing who I am, and I've done pretty good, decent. And I'm not nearly as aware, or not nearly as close as where I need to be or where I should be, but just kind of looking back and like, fuck, man, like I've done okay in this competition, and fighting, and doing all the competitions I did fucking high off, and dopesick, and smashing dudes.
That's
like
crazy.
That's my first MMA fight, I was dopesick in the back, withdrawing off heroin, and went out and fucking smash, so
like your skills just kind of take over, right? That almost, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but then the training that you worked for that just takes over, right? It's kind of like it's in your second nature.
For sure.
You just go out there.
I feel like I'm very grateful to be able to understand the art and be as good as it as I am. Just it kind of just it's natural to me to do jiu-jitsu and MMA and whatnot. But that's what I'm thinking. I thank God that I have like not I don't want to sound cocky, just natural abilities that I am good at this sport. So
like you kind of found what.
I am good at this. And I attribute that a lot to Jerry, man. Like my brother is fucking
absolutely. Man.
He's made me the fucking animal that everyone sees on the mat. Like every time I go out there and compete, you see Jerry. It's not like you see him in the corner, but you see when I compete, you see my brother and me. Like I'm what he can do with someone. Like someone and build them up, and just like fucking Corey, like took the kid from nothing, took me from since I was a teenager, and made me who the fuck I am, and the animal that's on the mat.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. That kind of support, I can already see it, man. Like when I was talking to Jerry, I asked a little bit about it, because of what we're talking about now,
right,
with addiction, and to have an influence like that is everything. It's crazy. I think that's one thing that I didn't have. Not that I wish, because it is what it is. I mean, I wish I would have had it, I guess. So,
right.
Guess it's kind of contradicting, but I didn't. So, but that would have been a major key for, like it is what it is, but that would have been a major key in my recovery personally. I'm glad it, pretty much ended up well for the most part, but to have someone like Jerry and, your family and stuff like that to be like very supportive of you and maybe guide you at your darkest times is
for sure.
It's fucking huge, man.
Yeah, 100%. And that you see it all the time. You see addicts that they relapse. They don't have family to kind of take them back in or support them like they have for me. But so I'm very grateful. I mean, I've never kind of been on the streets or You know, which on the other hand, man, it's like, you know, sometimes maybe I think, what if I needed that? You know, what if I needed to kind of really feel like what it felt like to relapse and be fucking homeless and go through shit?
Yeah.
Maybe I wouldn't have made the same fucking mistakes that I having like that same support, you know? So I feel like it's a good thing, and I'm very grateful that I have it. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes I wonder if, you know, if I was coddled a little bit too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say to that unfortunately, I mean, it's more of a good thing, obviously, than a bad thing. You're here, but unfortunately, people kind of need to bottom out.
Yeah.
Hit rock bottom,
Right.
in order to have that existential crisis of being like, oh shit, this is like not good, you know, and really snap out of it and really break the habit. Because I think part of breaking the habit and addiction is why are you doing it? Like, you know, what's it all for?
Right.
Because if you have no hope, and if you have, you know, faith, and, you know, not that I don't want to get all religious stuff like that, but you have to see somewhat of like a light at the other end of the tunnel. Like, why are you doing it?
Right.
I mean, you could stay just being a heroin addict or alcoholic, you know, we could just be here.
Right.
But your why has to be strong enough for you to get out of that.
You have to have a sense of purpose.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying about, you know, like kind of there's like a sweet spot to that. Like, yeah, maybe you had that support and the coddling part. I completely understand.
Yeah.
But then it's almost like, well, if we hit rock bottom, it could go the other way, right?
Right.
Some people don't make it out, man. Like a lot of people don't make it out.
Yeah.
Whether it's psychological or broke or, you know, just homeless and or just out in the street. Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing too, is everyone's rock bottom's different. You know, like I can't tell you your rock bottom. You can't tell me mine.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, I never was on the streets. I never had to look for a place to stay. I never, you know, was in the tunnels, you know, but, you know, my rock bottom is my rock bottom, you know? So, I've said this before, but like everyone's entitled to their own pain, right? Like once you've had enough of your own shit, that's when shit's going to change and your life's going to get better.
100%.
You know, so that's,
yeah, it's that quote, like when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, oh, fuck
100%.
Yeah. So with my addictions, as far as alcohol, like you said, everyone's different. I've never been the type, fortunately, I guess, but I have known and hung around people that they'll wake up and then they will pull out the Jack and then the Coke, put it in a to-go cup, and then head off to work.
Yeah.
To me, that was like a different level. I mean, everyone's different. So I don't know if it's more so a level, because mine would be at night, like I said, drinking a 750 milliliter Jack in one sitting.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be blacked out by then. But but for other people, it's just a gradual kind of like, they'll stay up, man. Like they'll be I guess you could say productive. You know, they'll be productive, and then they'll be able to go 1-2 days. What is it like for you in that life when you do get into that dark zone of like the addiction? Is it like, all right, constant all day? Do you go like days or a week and then you take like 2 days off? Like,
yeah, I mean, for me, it's different, man. Like I said, before, you know, we started, we kind of talked about it a little bit, you know, I never, you know, when I was doing heroin, you know, last, you know, while ago, you know, I was never shooting. You know, I never got to that point where I was shooting dope, but I was always smoking it, or, you know, when I was doing fentanyl, I was popping pills, like fentanyl pills and whatnot. But this last go around, when I was kind of drinking a little bit more, and then I got to, you know, started getting into Coke, you know. So what that looked like for me was, you know, I'd wake up. It's not like I needed it to get out of bed or anything, but it was just all I looked forward to. You know, before I went to work, I had to have a couple shots. You know, maybe on the way to work, go grab a bag, like do a couple bumps. You know, and then throughout the day, once I started the Coke, it was I was killing a gram. You know, I could kill a gram in a day. You know, 8 ball in 2 days, 8 ball in 3 days. You know, like I was going fucking. You know, so once I started, it was, and then it's just all my life revolves around. You know, it's just, you know, whether I'm at the gym, you know, it's just like I'll do class maybe, you know, but I'm trying to get the fuck out of the gym, like to get back in the car and fucking hit a bump or something. You know what I mean? I'm just it's just
Well, you know. That brings me back to a time too, because, you know, addiction, part of the addiction, but it is genetic. But then it's more of a like a routine kind of thing too.
Oh yeah. You get addicted to the routine.
Yeah, what's crazy is that like whenever I get the itch, it's at the same times on the same days, which is like every day, but the same times on the same days. It's like when 6 o'clock, when that sun starts going down, it's like I get this fucking weird feeling. I'm like, oh fuck. Yep. And then when I'm sitting around and I drink, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here, man? Like let me just get out.
I gotta go.
Just drink by myself in my room. I don't need anyone, man.
Right.
I'm like, fuck, like, because you're in your own head, and I think part of that is that you're trying to escape something.
100%. 100%. Yeah. My favorite thing, was isolating. I could fucking sit alone, and I didn't need anybody to do coke with.
Yeah.
I didn't need, this past go around, I was, had a relationship and everything like that, but it was, sneaking around. It was just the whole, it gets sick when I know when like sneaking around gets fun to me. Like when I'm fucking sneaking to get the bag and I gotta lie. Right. Like when lying starts to become fun, that's when I know I'm fucking off the deep end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When it's just the whole lifestyle of getting it. Yeah. Finding ways and means to get more. Like it's a fucked up thing, man. It's a fucked up thing. Yeah. Takes you to some dark places.
Yeah. Everything kind of everything is like brothers and sisters. Like with alcohol, like smoking, it leads you to smoking, right? Like smoking cigarettes and shit. And then all of a sudden, like you said, it leads you to lying. And then all of a sudden you're going through these things. It's crazy how the worst things for you, they all connect. And then the good things for you, they're all connect. Like if you start going to the gym, you start eating right? It's just a positive snowball the other way. And then from there, from like addiction, fuck, that's just like a quick fall downhill.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to learn too, man. I'm trying addicts, they're all in or they're all out, so if I'm trying to navigate my addiction and my addictive personality into, the positive things, which I should have been doing already. I've wasted so much fucking time, but I should have been doing this a while ago where it's, trying to turn that addiction, if I could hustle so hard to find money and find ways to get money when I'm dead fucking broke. How come I can't do that when I'm fucking sober and have that hustler's mindset when I'm in that addiction? You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm trying to just channel those ways into something positive.
But I think you do, right? Like that's the paradox of I think like addicts like us is because think about it, man. Like you've turned into this like Jiu-Jitsu like you're in UFC Fight Pass and you're killing people, you know what I mean, on there, and you're training when you are on, you're fucking on. That's an addiction within itself. Right. So it's kind of like when you're in a good spot, you're in a good spot. And I'm sure that, you've had your times like, relationships can be a motherfucker, but then I'm sure you've had really good ones too, like good moments of it. And then
absolutely.
That's when you were in like good spots when you were, like
absolutely.
doing coke
absolutely.
and
on
your training. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like the beginning of this year, man, was like fucking beginning of 24, man, was probably like one of the best years of my life for sure.
Yeah.
Wasn't doing coke or anything like that, but just where I was at mentally and physically and just my whole life in general was just, it was fucking beautiful, man. But of course I gotta somehow I find a way to fuck it up,
Yeah, I think
somehow.
It's the, the brain is a very fascinating.
Crazy. It's crazy too. I find that like one of my triggers is everything's going good.
What was that?
Like one of my triggers, like apart from, insecurities, is like, I found out about myself that everything could be going great in my life. And that's a trigger for me. Or if I'm not on my shit.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, everything's going good. Like maybe I could fuck around, maybe I'll have a drink this weekend. Everything's going good in life. Yep. It's like crazy how something positive can be a trigger, which it's
100%, man.
It's fucking wild.
100%. And for the ones that haven't, like, for the non-addicts out there, that's really how it is. Yeah. We were talking about before this podcast, and it's when everything's going good. It's like, wait, why not have a drink, man? Like, I've been sober for a while. Yeah. You always have this thing, like, I could handle it, like, and then, I'm so used to training now. I've been killing it. And then I'll just go back to it on Monday, man.
Exactly.
And then that's all she wrote.
Exactly. It's fucking, and that's just, but it's just being complacent, man. And that's another thing that's like, I'm so good at getting complacent. I'll have everything kind of going good. I'll get complacent and then somehow we'll fuck it up.
Yeah.
It's like I never have like those next steps of, okay, what am I doing next? Or those goals or, so it's like, it's very important for me now to like, just learning just since I've relapsed, just I gotta be on my shit. I gotta have my goals. I gotta be working on me.
Yeah.
I gotta have my A, B, and C lined up already. Or otherwise, if I get complacent, I know where that potentially could lead me if I'm not on my shit.
Everyone's different when it comes to what are your thoughts? I'm curious with you. In NA and AA, they have this thing, and even GA, Gamblers Anonymous, they have this thing where it's like if you're an addict, you're pretty much an addict for life.
Yeah.
What do you think about that statement itself? Do you think it deems to be true? Do you think that it's curable? Because I've heard a lot, particularly in AA, because not that I've been there recently, but it's just they have their own school of thought. It's almost like a cult-like.
Right.
And that's not to say it's a bad thing. It's just like, I know the fellowship. I understand fellowship and your support group and stuff. But what do you think about that? Because they say that if once an addict, always an addict, that's why they make you say in AA, hi, like, my name's Chris. I'm an alcoholic.
Right.
I'm alcoholic. But then looking back at hindsight in 2020, it just kind of seems like you're identifying yourself as an alcoholic, which could kind of work against you. It's like, I'm an alcoholic. There might be a science to that, that I can't figure out. But then it's like, wait, what? Because you are the words that you speak, right?
100%.
Like your thoughts, you are your thoughts, and you are the words you speak. And I just, personally for me, I just found that counterintuitive. What do you think about that whole notion?
I agree, man. Like you said, you are kind of if you're always telling yourself you're an addict, especially if we're addicts, your brain believes it.
Yep.
Like you're an addict, so I see where you're going for sure. For me personally, I feel like my addiction kind of carries itself in different ways, so in that sense, like even my last relationship, after we got done, I was, still clean, wasn't drinking, wasn't smoking, but was like just sex became my whole addiction.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's just like one example of like my addiction carrying over to something else, so
it's always the things that feel good, right?
Oh, it's always the fucking things that feel good. Always, man. I would say I think everyone's different. I personally because the same thing. Like I was in NA, and like for me, I would like to say that I'm probably always an addict. But I don't think I want to like put myself in that. I don't want to tell myself that. How can I say this, man? It's. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's why this other fellowship that I've been really liking a lot, man, is Smart Recovery. But they don't open the meeting when you have to say, "Hi, I'm Shane. I'm an addict." Because they believe the same thing. They don't. You categorizing yourself as always an addict. They feel like that can be like detrimental. So I do agree with that. So yeah, I don't think once an addict, kind of always an addict, man. I think if you can channel your addiction into something positive, it's not.
Yeah. The interesting thing about that, why I say it, is that looking back at it, so I've been sober for just a little bit, 2.5 years, and not to say that I don't believe it, but it's just, I don't want to internalize it.
Right.
I know that because, listen, if I have a drink, it's over.
Right.
It's fucking over. I think I've relapsed too many times to kind of know that. And I, like what you said, the self-sabotaging thing, I'm big on that, man.
Yeah.
Huge on that. And I don't know what it is, if it's like divine intervention or I just got lucky or the people that's around me. But personally for me, like, the drinking, I always, when I still think about it, but when I do, I still say it doesn't serve me anymore to where I want to go.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I know everyone's different and I know everyone itches different. Like, you'll get that itch, you'll wake up one day, you'll be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Having a weird feeling.
Yeah. But then I haven't had that in so long. I mean, fortunately enough to say, right? I'll still think about it because of years from doing it, from habit and stuff like that. But fortunately, it's like I've been able to stay off for 2.5 years. And fuck, I hope it stays that way because, and I say that with intention because, again, you just never know. I'm not going to say 100%. So going back to what I was saying, like once an addict, always an addict, man, I don't want to eat my fucking words in like a few months when I'm, You know what I mean?
sure,
or if
yeah.
I fucking toss back.
And I think a better way to like go about that is like, you know, like you said, and to be, hopefully it stays that way 2 months down the road. But it's like we don't know what's going to happen 2 months down the road. So I feel like a better way to kind of maybe to go about that, you know, like I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I know for today, just for today, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to fucking do coke. I'm not going to pop a pill. Just for today, I'm not an addict.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so maybe that's like a better way you can kind of put that, or for me at least. I don't want to say you.
Yep.
For me, that's kind of what I kind of go by. Like, just for today, I'm not I'm an addict, but
yeah,
just for today, I'm not.
It's a very powerful thing too. Not with just addiction, but just with life in general. I think the mind goes to places since it's like a fight or flight response. Like we're scared of uncertainty.
Right.
And I think that's what kind of fucks us. We
Yeah.
think too much in the future, but what's thinking about the future going to really do?
There's nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely
it's like,
fucking nothing.
well, you're just like hypothetically thinking all this stuff that may or may not come true, I guess. But then what's worrying going to do?
Right.
Easier said than done. I get it.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
But fuck, I mean, what you just said, and that's a NAAA thing, right? Like take it day by day.
Yeah, one day at a time.
One day at a time. Yeah, exactly. And I truly believe in that just as a life principle in general.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Even with an existential crisis like fucking cancer,
Right.
like you can't think, if you put yourself there, and which you will once you get the essential crisis of having to face, you know, life or death or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want to do.
Right.
You know, regardless of how hard it is. It's like, wait,
Yeah.
what's the point, man?
Right.
You know, we'll get there.
No fucking point, you know? It's the same thing too, just life in general. Like you have a girlfriend, like you can't worry about if she's going to fucking cheat on you. You know?
Yeah.
It's just like you're future tripping, you know? And how many times have like you gone through life and then you're making all this shit up in your head and it never happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why I'm so big on just kind of like when I feel like every time I'm having anxiety, it's because I'm future tripping, because I'm worried about tomorrow. I'm worried about what the fuck's going to happen. Like I have to just take things day by day or I'm going to lose my fucking mind.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just that type. Even just worry about the past too. Like I can't change the fucking past. I can't change what I've done. I can't change what happened. I can't change who I was. I can only worry about who Shane is today, who I am today, and how I'm working on get me better.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just 100%. The man I am today. You know, I can't worry about the past. I can't worry about what Shane did back then.
100%.
You know?
I 100% agree. I think when I read a lot of those books, and, you know, regardless of like, I don't know if you heard this, but like self-help porn, like people will read, you know, motivational quotes and stuff like that, and then just go off the rails with it on Instagram. Like, fuck, you know, like, and I like some of that stuff too. That makes sense, right?
Right.
Because you know what? I'm going to go to this before I make my point. You know what's funny about the things that you post too? I really enjoy your stories because it's funny as hell. I get a kick out of them when people will say, man, I'm going to become a champion, like a UFC champion.
Yeah.
And then they're training 1 or 2 days a week.
Yeah, you're fucking delusional.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
you're
it's
so
like,
delusional, man.
I never understood that. Like, people, it's subjective to people, right? People are in different situations. You may have like 4 or 5 kids, and then maybe you could only do training for 2 days a week. But then I'm sure you've been in the gyms to where you kind of have a feel of what it takes to be like, you've been around, you know, people like you and people like, I don't know what kind of delusional state. I understand you have to be delusionally confident sometimes.
Right.
But then just the fuck.
It's like a healthy delusion, but
it's a healthy
that level of delusion is, it blows my fucking mind.
Yeah. 2 days a week, dude. 1 hour class of like a beginner's, like Muay Thai class.
You can't shrimp, but you're going to be a champion, huh? Yeah, good luck, man. I'm not saying you can't get there. I don't want to shit on anyone. But at the same, it's just like, come on, man. Like, I think it's going to happen like that. You know, like you just, it's fucking years of being in the gym, you know, like and then 2 days a week on top of that, you're a hobbyist, you know, like, if that.
Yeah, exactly. If that, yeah.
You know, like.
Or it's a bar talk for your friends.
Exactly, yeah. Right, yeah. I do jiu-jitsu, but I've been doing it a week, you know.
Yeah,
come on, man.
But then the people that don't train don't know that. They're like, what? Really?
Oh, yeah. They eat
how was it like? And then you kind of lie. Now you're just starting to lie your way. Sure. It's like, yeah, man, you know, me and Shane rolled this one time. I mean, I gave him a pretty good round.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's without you knowing. That's no one knows. Like, there's no justification.
Yeah.
There's no like evidence of it.
Yep.
They'll just talk shit like that.
Fucking love it. I love it. You got to have those guys at the gym, though, man. It makes fun.
It's true. It's true.
It's fucking funny, man.
And you could like kind of like, you know, point it without naming it. It's like you could kind of like point them out. Like,
for sure, man. Oh, God, dude. There was this guy going the other night. Yeah, I'm not going to name names, but it was fucking, what was it? Last night. You could just tell he's one of those guys, man. You know, you look at his Instagram, he's fucking hitting mitts in the living room. It's like, and it's just terrible technique. You know, it's just,
yeah. It's the technique that gets me.
Yeah, like when I was 14 and I posted a video, I'd still be embarrassed of like my technique when I was hitting, you know? Like I still get embarrassed like if I'm fucking hitting mitts. Like now I don't give a fuck. You know, like I feel I'm a little bit
because
decent.
you know, I mean,
you know, even like, just like rolling, like I'm like, fuck, should I post this video? I don't look as clean as like this guy or like these high level guys, you know? And I've been doing it fucking 17 years, you know? But it's like, these people just, they're so crazy to me, man. It's so funny, dude.
Yeah, it's signaling for sure. And I get it. We all do it. Like if we're posting on Instagram and stuff like that, whether it's good or whether it's dramatic, you know, overly dramatic, like we're all signaling, right? If someone posts a picture of like their family and stuff like that, well, we're still signaling. Right. Like you don't really have to post that, but we're like, you're trying to get something out of the world, and we're all guilty of it. That's what social media is for.
100%.
Like honestly, when I like sometimes when I go on my stories, right, I'm like, this girl look at it yet?
Oh, fuck it. You're checking your fucking checking the stories, man.
Yeah, how often does she look at it?
Yeah, of course. Yep. Yeah. That gratification.
Yeah, exactly. You know? I think it's one of my most like the better highlights.
Yeah.
Like
every time I get a haircut, man, I gotta be fucking, you know what I mean? I'm fucking checking, you know? Check me out, dude. I'm fucking
for sure.
Fly today.
Yeah. But back to my point. Yeah, people will signal those like motivational quotes and stuff like that. Some of them are really, really, really fucking good. You know, some of them are just like light bulb moments.
Right.
And I read a lot of that. I'm like almost like a fucking self-development porn kind of guy. You know, it's like, oh,
you're self-development porn. I'm just regular porn. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have my moments too. Don't get me wrong. But so okay. Like the self-development thing was a big part of my life, right? It's like nowadays I think there's this whole thing where it's like, that's where they get it from, like self-development porn, because it's just used to like, it's like mental gymnastics in your head.
Right.
That's why I brought up, you know, your Instagram thing. Well, people will say, I'm going to be a world champion. It's almost like self-development porn, but it's kind of like a way out there. If you're not going to do anything about that, how are you going to be a UFC champion? Self-development porn, right? If you're actually taking action and applying it, and say, you know, going back to addiction, if you're taking steps like going to therapy and you have a group therapies and AA and, you know, reading books and writing down journals, then you're doing something about it. Not like, okay. Yeah, not like I'm gonna next week. It's like I'm gonna, you know, not just talking. Exactly.
Yeah.
And talking yourself out of it, from what I heard from a psychiatrist, is almost like it's kind of like it's draining the energy of the actual action, right? When you talk about like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do. It's kind of like you're getting those dopamine hits right there, so you're not gonna do anything about it when it comes time to do it, because it's way harder than just talking about it. So I think it's very fascinating. Yeah. I think that was like a chain of events, like the whole Instagram story. I enjoy your Instagram stories. Man. It's fucking funny as shit. I'm like, get a good laugh.
I've been trying to be more active on social media. Just post. I gotta, like,
even with the rants, it's just
for sure. Yeah, you got to, man. So it's too much. Yeah, it's what's social media for? You gotta fuck around.
Well, I think that's why. You know? That's why people. I think that's why people like admire you for that, because you're a type of person, and trust me, I'm not like trying to blow smoke up your ass. It's just you're that type of person that like it's proven people highly respect, because you go train and you're just a fucking animal. You've been on UFC Fight Pass. You're nice to everyone, right? Like it's genuine too. You're genuinely kind
for sure.
as a person, even as an addict. That's not to say addicts aren't nice. It's just a lot of them aren't. You know what I mean? A lot of them 100%. Are just in a dark place where they hate everyone.
Right.
But you, when you're at the gym, it's genuine. You say what's up to people, and you could feel the love. Like it's something you can't fake. Because one thing that's good about people, especially the ones that are very self-aware, it's kind of like, you know, you'll get like a vibe about them. Yeah. It's kind of like, oh, he's just like, you watch their behaviors and be like, oh, he's not like a nice person, man. Right?
Kind of weird.
Just like kind of faking it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. That's one thing I feel like, you know, me and my brother do well about. And it's just how we were raised, man. Like we just, you know, we show everyone respect. And I don't care who you are, you know, you're going to get respect until, you know, you either prove me otherwise or you're a fucking douchebag, you know?
Yeah.
But that's what I love about the gym is if you're a fucking douchebag, you're gonna get broken off, you know?
It's true. You get disconnected from the tribe.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? Like that's an evolutionary
you get greenlit and then...
That's so interesting.
Now that's your life.
That's so interesting.
Now you're getting greenlit forever.
Yeah, yeah. And it's one of those things too that it's kind of like you and Jerry, you know, at that gym. I mean, you guys are, you know, the head coaches, right?
Yeah.
And you guys walk the walk, right? And you have to respect that. And no one wants to be excommunicated from something quote unquote cool like that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because it is a martial arts gym. A lot of people that don't train wish they could do it, right? They watch UFC, they're like they have these visions in their head, like but they don't actually train.
Right.
And even with the ones that we do train with, I mean, they're kind of, you know, maybe hobbyists, practitioners, but they would like to get into a like quote unquote black belt status of skills at least, right? And I think that's why it's a status thing. They look up to you guys and they're like, yeah, what? Coach is a syndicate? Man, that's crazy. You know? And then they'll talk. People will talk about it. They don't want to get excommunicated from that. They don't want to be like, I don't want to disrespect anyone because fuck, dude, like, I'm wearing, look at me, I'm so cool wearing the syndicate shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm part of the tribe.
For sure.
Yeah. Man. I think it's a fascinating, like, psychological aspect of, you know?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. But, so I think relating to that, Coach, it may be a little bit cliche because I hear it a lot now, but to me it seems to be true that martial arts has a big impact on the way it saved my life.
Yeah.
And I wrote a newsletter about that on my Substack, and in a way, I don't want to say it's cheesy, you know, it's cringy, like, martial arts saved, but it did. Like, let's face it, like, the impact that it did, I know we go through our battles and we'll relapse and, you know, even when I was drinking till fucking 4 a.m, a quick story about that. When I would, because when I was back in San Diego doing jiu-jitsu, I'd be one of the people that be like, hey, Chris, come here and demonstrate with me, right? And then they'll be like, people didn't know that I was drinking. They knew I drank, but they didn't know that I was an addict.
Right.
But guess what happens when you're that close in proximity? Well, you can smell the whiskey coming out of your pores.
Yeah, you can't hide it.
You can't hide it. You can't hide it, dude. It's not in your breath, it's in your pores.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, well, I'm not going to eat garlic because, you know, what I mean?
Yeah,
That's even worse.
Sure.
But, and then, you know, one of the higher up black belts, whatever, they're like, whoa, you had one hell of a night, huh? I mean, to them, it was like a joke, but I'm like, oh, you have no idea.
Yeah, you have no idea.
One hell of a
month, man.
Yeah, I was fucking out in the ditch, just got here within 2 hours. Like, I don't even know where I'm at. I don't know.
Did a quick wash off in the bathroom.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, bro.
But you know, the interesting about that, there's something powerful about maybe just in general what you like to do, maybe just not martial arts in general, but martial arts in particular.
Right.
Was like call me a functioning alcoholic, but I had to be there regardless if I was like hungover.
Yeah.
Like you said, right? Like you were fucking like doing in competitions and shit. Yeah. But I just had to be there for some reason. It wasn't like a thought. Maybe it was just habits at that point. It was a routine. But fuck, man, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have those habits, because it also identifies me as that guy.
Right.
It's also a psychological thing to where I'm like, man, I'm him to the point where I'll still make it fucking hungover, doing lines of coke, like, you know what I mean? And all that
I'm
stuff.
going to be there.
Yeah, you're proving it to yourself. Right. It's like, oh, I'm still here, motherfuckers. A lot of people that don't even have addictions, and yes, everyone has their own problems other than addictions, but a lot of people that would like and talk about it, the future UFC champs, they're not here. I am. And I just went on a fucking binger for the past week and a half.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what, can you talk a little bit about just the effect that martial arts had on you, especially at a high level, man? Because for me, I'm a hobbyist. For you, you know, I mean, you've been doing it for a long time, every single fucking day. Walk coked out. I mean, at times, right?
At times,
so
for sure.
That's even like
times
fucking amazing.
Blasted, man.
Yeah, that's amazing within itself. Being an addict, you know, coming from an addict.
Going back to what you said about jiu-jitsu saving your life, I feel, you know, like I do feel fucking cheesy. Like you said, it's a cheesy fucking thing because everyone kind of blows it out of proportion now. But
yeah, right.
For me, it's been my life for forever. You know, I don't know where I would be necessarily if I didn't have martial arts or jiu-jitsu or any of the and being at the gym in general. You know, like school was never my thing. Fucking working a 9 to 5. I've always fucking hated clocking in. So for me, I mean, martial arts has really fucking saved my ass, you know. And going back to what you're saying about like me having to be at the gym, I don't know if like a lot of times for me, trying to not let people know I was fucking up, which I'm sure everyone did, right? You can't really hide when you're that deep in your addiction, you know. But I'm grateful that I still had, you know, the motivation to kind of, even if the motivation was coming from a wrong spot, like fuck, I gotta play the part, like I'm not doing anything,
right,
you know, to still show up at the gym, you know. So I'm grateful I still had that motivation, even though it might have been, it definitely was coming from the wrong place, but at the end of the day, I still had to be there, you know, and I still love being there, regardless of what I was going through, or, you know, even if I'm at a Coke tonight, I'm having a miserable fucking night. But just for that fucking 3 minutes of the round, at least I could maybe forget about it.
That's true. Yeah.
And get my mind off it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, no, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that, I had that motivation.
Yeah. The interestingly enough, when you say, you know, when you're not having one of those days, I don't know if it's just me or I don't know if it's just, you know, being observant in particular, but you can tell, man, because of your body language. You know what I mean? Yeah, like as far as like, you're slouching down a little bit more. Like you could see it in your face.
Yeah, I'm not
which
walking
I think
with my
is
head
like
up.
interesting.
You know, there's a big. I know there's a big difference.
I already
when
know.
I'm kind of like when I'm doing shit and I'm, you know, I know my eyes are glossy. I know they're fucking either dilated or pinpoint, depending on what the fuck I'm doing. You know. But I know what you're talking about. It's. And I'm not good at hiding my emotions. You know, that's one thing that I've never been good at, which I've been trying to work on. You know, I've been trying to work on just kind of keeping. You know, especially going to the gym. There's still a point where you have to be professional, even though we're going to the gym and all of you guys are there. You guys are all my boys, and we're still, you know, we still got to be the coaches. We're still at a business, you know. So it's a trying to work on just leaving my emotions at the door. But I'm fucking. I can't. It's hard for me to. I wear my shit on my sleeve.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
not to say that it's always a bad thing, because you could use it as fucking fire for sure. Because I've seen like emotional people that, I mean, those kinds of people. They're the most like fiery, I guess. It's kind of, dude, I've seen it in you before competition in particular. I think there was these moments, you know, obviously when we all roll in jiu-jitsu, you know, everyone's friendly, right? They're like, yeah, you want to roll? Yeah, fucking cool. But then when you're on it or before like a competition, fuck, man, you turn into like a demon. And that's not like in a bad way.
Right.
I'm just like, oh, he's in the fucking zone.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking Shane in competition mode. Not even in like I had a binger. No, there's a difference. Like I can tell there's the levels. It's kind of like, okay, he's pissed off about something, right? Like maybe he went on a binger or he's in a competition. Like there's different categories of like what I see.
Right.
And then like, I think it's right before you were, maybe it was a fight camp before LFA, or it was the competition on UFC Fight Pass. Yeah, you're just like a fucking bull. I'm like, oh fuck, man.
I don't know when to flip that switch.
Yeah.
Which I still have a problem too, man. It's like I know when to flip the switch, but at the same time, I don't want to be a fucking asshole to my training partners, which is kind of a weird thing.
You're not, because I've rolled with you, like as far as when you were in that mode.
Yeah.
It's not like you were trying to hurt anyone. It's just kind of like, oh, this guy's going. It's not like the normal. Let's fucking.
I never want to be that fucking, especially being a coach. You never want to be that guy. That's you know, people hate rolling with, or you're just one of those assholes slamming someone on their head, like.
Yeah, but I think that's like the martial artist in you, and doing it for a very, very long time, that you just know. Yeah. Like you don't have to think about it. Like you're never going to be that asshole. Yeah. You know, as far as like just green lighting people for the fuck of it.
Right. No, you got to seriously, for me to get to that mode, which there's been some guys that I'm, you know, I get to mount. I don't let them tap, you know, like you're going to sit here and you're going to suffer, you know?
Yeah. So switching modes. Let's talk about something fun, I guess, right? But I remember when we were at the gym in particular, and I think there's this guy, obviously we don't need to say any names, but he was, I guess, a fighter, from what Jerry was saying or someone else was saying, that I think he went too hard and you guys had a little confrontation.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah. He's like this tall. I think he was Brazilian or something like that. But he was like a little bit taller. What happened there? Like that was, you went to not crazy mode, but then you had to go you had to like go hard. Yeah, turn it on.
So yeah, never seen this guy. Came in the gym, right? And I think Jerry rode with him before, or maybe a couple days before, and he was just like, "Yo, kind of watch out for that guy. He's a spaz, you know."
Interesting.
So right when we slap hands, he tries jumping over my guard, kind of knees me in the fucking head, very close to, you know. So I was like, "Oh God, here we go." Like, just one of those guys. You just already know he's he's going just super hard, right? Just and I kind of ranted about this on my Instagram. Like I'm all for going hard, right? If you want to take it to that level, we'll take it to that level, no problem. But you have to be ready to deal with the consequences of getting to that level and then gassing out, right? Once you gas out, there's no I quit now. You know, like you took it to that level, you weren't maintaining your gas tank the way you should have been. You know, so he's fucking going crazy, nuts, right? I finally get on top. I finally get to mount. You know, I start my smother process, and then he's like, "All right, tap."
Yep.
I'm like, "Nah, motherfucker. Like, you don't get to tap now. Like, you just went fucking ape shit for fucking a minute, 30 seconds,
right?"
And now
you were mother's milking him.
I was trying to. Yeah, I was fucking. Yeah, I was trying to put my tits right in his face.
Of
man.
course, yeah, I got it.
So yeah, I get to mount. I'm fucking in the process of getting my shit going. And he's like, "No, tap, get off." And I'm like, "Nah, man. Like, you don't get to tap from here. Like, now you got to deal with the consequences of you being on bottom out now, you know? And you're a fighter. Like, what I don't get is like, now you're going to, like, if this was a fight, you're going to quit in the fight once you gas out. Like, that's not happening, you know? So yeah, so I fucking held him and then he was screaming tap. And I was like, "Nah, man. Like, you don't get to tap, you know?" And he's like, "You got to get off me. You got to tap." No. And he had broken English too, so it's like we were trying to explain to him like you can't do that and then just tap. Like mounts, you can't tap from mount. You know, we preach this all the time at the gym, right? Like, granted, I know there's some you get mother's milk, you can't breathe. You know, I know my sweaty ass. Once I have my rash guard, you're getting waterboarded.
Oh, dude,
I can understand. You know, there's certain situations I get it. You know, it's still a submission, right?
Yeah.
But the thing, I didn't even have it fully locked up. It's not like I fully had him in the mother's milk. So. Yeah, he's fucking screaming tap, and I'm like, "Nah, man, you deal with it now, you know." So and then he starts getting pissed, and then he starts yelling from bottom out, you know, "Get off me, get!" And then he's making a scene, and then everyone's fucking stopping the rolling. And then they're looking around, and then then we end up getting up, and he's talking more shit. You know, I'm just like, "Bro, you can't be talking shit. You were just in bottom out quitting. Like, you don't get to talk shit now. You know, just shut up. You know." Then he just fucking Danny, our boxing coach Danny came on the mat. Started talking to him in Spanish, and he's getting off the mat and he yells, "Fuck you, Jerry." So then I fucking run back to him and I'm like, "You motherfucker, bro, you're not gonna talk shit to my brother."
That's crazy that he did that at that gym too.
Yeah, I feel like it's just etiquette too. You just don't do that to a gym, right? Like, maybe it's just experience, right? But I would never go to a gym and then go ape shit my first time being there.
That's like character assassination. That's like you. Yeah, that's
you're gonna.
You figure that's an obvious kind of thing to not do.
He's a fucking idiot. And then then he's off of me, still talking shit. And then I'm like, "Bro, well, let's go in the cage. You know, like we can." And then he's like, "Oh," he starts getting his boxing gloves and So I'm like, "Nah, if we're gonna go in the cage, we're gonna fucking. There's no gloves. Like we're gonna fucking fight, man. Like I'm not fucking here to put on fucking our 16-ounce gloves and shin pads.
Oh yeah, we're fighting now. Yeah,
we're fighting.
Yeah.
You know, we're not gonna just stand up. Like I'm gonna take you down. I'm gonna have sex with you,
Fucking scary.
You little bitch.
That's fucking. Yeah, when I was watching that, I was like, "Oh, Jesus." Like, I was like, yeah. And I think that's also interesting one where I think where people, because I've seen it on Saturday sparrings too. And they're fighters, they're pros. Some of them are pros. And psychologically, Danny was talking about it, our boxing coach. And he was saying that people fight just to get a rise out of something, right? Like to have that ego trip a little bit.
For sure.
And maybe, they have some sort of PTSD that got them into fighting because people fight for different reasons.
Right.
Right. And I guess we'll never know, but damn, I guess it's a fuck around and find out kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Right. And it happens all, and like you said, during like pro class, it happens all the time. Like, there's certain strikers, that like, let's say one day it's like a Thursday, right? We'll have big glove sparring and little glove sparring. Big glove sparring, it's like there's no takedowns allowed. We're just standing up. So of course all the strikers want to go with the grapplers because we can't take them down,
Wait, could you say that again? All the strikers want to go with the grapplers.
With the grapplers.
Oh, gotcha.
Because they can't get taken down, right? So now they were trying to fucking fuck them up, right? But it's like, I've never been the type to shy away from anything, right? If you want to stand up and strike, we could stand up and strike. I don't care. I might not be the best striker, but I'm not afraid to fucking throw down a little bit, But then when MMA rounds come about, now they're ducking and dodging you. You know, and it's not every. I'm not saying this about every striker. I'm saying there's a certain guys that I've seen from experience at the gym that you know it happens. But yeah, MMA rounds come around. They don't want to go because they know they're going to get taken down and fucked up.
Yeah,
you know? So it's like and especially I don't get it. If you're going to fight MMA, like why are you so scared to go to the ground?
Right.
You know, then
That's
go to
what like you're learning.
Go
right?
do Muay Thai.
Yeah,
you know? Like you're going to go against one of these Dagestan guys. They're going to hold you down and fuck you up. Like might as well learn it.
Yeah.
You know? So I just don't. I've never understood that. You know.
Yeah, it's true, huh? Like the MMA thing. I think people that's a big topic on this podcast. Actually, is that I've said this multiple times. I sound like a broken record by now, but like as an example, right? Like a lot of people that do. This is what I noticed because I do Muay Thai and the Jiu-Jitsu take your class after, and that's what I noticed is that and great for you know the people that get really competent in like striking because they take in Muay Thai.
Yeah.
That's great. But eventually sometimes they say, and vice versa, jiu-jitsu guys to go striking.
Yep.
They say that they're like, yeah, you know, I want to do MMA because that's like the ultimate mixed martial arts kind of thing that eventually that's where you kind of lead into. But then a lot of them don't want to fucking grapple. A lot of them don't want to take a jiu-jitsu class because I think what it is it's an ego kind of thing. And they got so good at Muay Thai that they got to start all the way from the bottom in jiu-jitsu. And jiu-jitsu, I'm not faking the funk. When you start jiu-jitsu, it fucking sucks as far as like getting smashed and stuff. It sucks. It's terrible.
It's terrible. Yeah.
But so is striking.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
with striking, a lot of people think about like the knockouts and stuff like that. When I go with pros, like say you know, David and these other guys sparring, Marab, you know, I've been fortunate enough to go with him.
Yeah.
Oh boy, man. They talk about taking you in deepest oceans, quote unquote, you know, in jiu-jitsu. I think that's to say that you're drowning. Try sparring like a fucking pro that just will hit you with like 40% of what he got and angles you out. Oh my God. Like,
it sucks.
Yeah, you can't get out. You're
sucks,
trying to like exit out of the corners and stuff. And then he's just keeping you there.
Right.
He'll head kick you if you go to the right. Like
ripping your legs apart. It sucks.
Yeah. But back to my point, I think that's what it is. Like back to your point, you don't want to get taken to, well, you're doing MMA, right?
Right.
Well, if you want to do MMA, at least take 2 or 3 classes of jiu-jitsu.
Right. You got to learn something, you know?
Yeah.
Even just doing like pro classes. There's a lot of like pro guys that are at the gym and they don't want to do like our jiu-jitsu class, you know? And it's not, which is, it's crazy to me because I feel our style of jiu-jitsu is so good for MMA.
Yeah, that's a great point.
You know, like we're top dominant or pressure passing. Like it's not like we're just like it's
practical.
We're not pulling guard and sitting on our back.
Yeah.
Fucking off, you know? Like it works for MMA, you know?
Do you think that's a concept, you know, I guess getting to mainstream that like say people like those Dagestan guys, it's kind of like jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like they'll kind of have a knock on it, like black belt and black belt. Yeah. It's kind of like because they're good wrestlers.
Those guys are elite wrestlers, like Olympic level wrestlers.
That's not to say like we're comparing, you know what I mean, to those guys. It's just like it. Yeah, I mean some of these guys like MMA, like again, I've rolled with Marab. You know, not to like name drop and say I'm cool that I rolled with him anything. It's just. It's a different kind of like, it's not like he goes around saying like I'm a fucking brown or black belt or anything. It's just when he goes, it's kind of like, oh shit. And I think that's the great thing about jiu-jitsu because you can't fake the fucking funk, man.
Right.
Like I don't care what belt you have, you can't fake the funk. Your skills are just going to show. When I roll with Marab, you don't see him really at the like jiu-jitsu class. But the thing is that you know he's been taking classes, you know, with Aljo, you know, and all that stuff. It's like, oh fuck, like this is. It's different.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm a Rob too. You look at him, like he still comes to class. Like he, you know, he might not be diving into jiu-jitsu,
right?
You know, but he's still doing everything. He's still showing up to class. He does pro class.
Yep.
You know, he still shows up and he does everything. And he's a UFC champion. Like if you're not going to follow his lead, whose lead are you going to follow?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
That's a great point. Yeah. So, Coach, man, yeah, there's a lot of nuggets. Thank you for coming again. What advice would you give to someone first and foremost? You know, because I want to go back to, you know, some of the stuff that we talked about in the beginning about addictions and stuff like that. But I always ask this question, what advice would you have, because it is a martial arts podcast, for like people that want to get, maybe not take it all the way as in pros, because speaking about your story, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What advice would you have for those guys that are saying that they're going to be UFC UFC champions and then train like twice a week.
I mean,
your biggest one.
The biggest advice I would give is stop saying you want to be a UFC champion and just shut the fuck up and show up.
And show up, right?
Just shut up and train, man.
Yeah.
Like there's no secret to this. You know, just I mean, we can the same thing about recovery, right? Or addiction. Like there's no secret to getting clean and in recovery, right? It's just showing up. You know,
it's
put
just
the
doing
fucking
the work.
drug down and just show up. Shut up and show up and put the work in. You know.
Yeah.
Same thing goes for martial arts. You just shut up. You show up. You train hard. You're going to see the progress, you know, but you have to get that foundation first before you want to start saying, I'm going to be a fucking UFC champion, right? Like it's shut up, show up and just train.
I like that because I'll ask a lot of people here and everyone, you know, obviously has their different advice, which I appreciate because it's coming from them.
Right.
It's coming from their experiences and it's priceless knowledge. But I really like that. The reason being is that it's so simple. Just like Jerry says, but it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like the most simple things that you know, the most basic things are hard to do. Like eating right. Like you know what you have to eat.
Of course.
But fucking hell, there's a lot of temptations out there.
Cheeseburger sounds way better.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I'm about to get some after this, but the most basic things, just like what you said, just show up. Oh, when that time comes around, man, when it's 8 o'clock in the morning, it's time to get up. You know, it's so simple. It's kind of like, well, you get dressed and then you go and then you take the class and then you go through the motions, then you go home.
Right.
But then once that time comes around and it's time to get up, it's like, oh, well.
Yeah. Hour of sleep sounds a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly.
Hour more, and everyone likes to overcomplicate shit.
Yeah.
You know? One of my favorite quotes in recovery is just keep it simple, stupid.
Right. That's a good one.
That's it.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
So I wanted to mention this before we talked about it because one of my things as far as like addiction that really got me, and you know, obviously we don't have to talk about, you know, anything too personal, but then mine, what kept leading me back to addiction, and sometimes I hate to admit it, but it's women, right? Fuck. There's something about like, well, obviously we're fucking guys, you know, but,
of course.
and we're gonna be drawn to that, like you said, with the sex addictions and stuff like that. I have my fucking own, like, you know what I mean? I fantasize myself, and I have my own sex addictions, and all that stuff. But, or I maybe used to and trying to work on it. But man, the woman thing, as far as addiction, personally for me, is a fucking big one, dude. It's like when I get attached to someone, which doesn't happen very often.
Right.
I have to admit, like it takes a lot for me because being 39 years old, I kind of know that you get for experience. I mean, if you're going to do, if you're going to do the same thing over and over, which, you know, I kind of tend to do, it's kind of like, what are you? But then you kind of learn as you go.
Right.
But then it's so hard to shake. There's something about like the oxytocins and like the neurotransmitters about the opposite sex, you know, about the temptations of like women that are like, oh my God, like when you really attach yourself to them, it's like, oh fuck, this isn't good. I might go down the road of, again, going back to drinking. Because you don't just want to think about it. You want that drama, man. Going back to that, I know I'm kind of stumbling all over the place because in some sort of sick way, it kind of gets me excited talking about this.
For sure. Same, man.
But then like the hype of like fantasizing in your head, like, yeah, I'm going to get her back and then I'm going to start shit with her because the emotions are so thrilling. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then we're going to have this dramatic thing. Then we're going to have this makeup sex.
Yep.
Like, fuck, like it is, not to like influence it, but it is like the fucking great parts of like addiction. I can't believe I just said that.
No,
not that I like influencing anyone again.
For sure. Yeah.
But it's just what makes addiction feel so good.
Yeah. And dude, everything with women sounds better when, you know, they're drinking, you're drinking. You start that drunk sex, right? Yeah. Everything sounds better, and it sounds better when you're drunk, right? Or like when some kind of substance is involved. It's better. Yeah. You know, which is not reality, right? Like, I guess it is fucking reality sometimes. Yeah, it's more like on how you look at it.
Yeah, exactly. It's more like of a status. That's why they have them like rap videos. You know, it's like money, women, and respect. You know what I mean, and all that. Sure. It's like you're chasing the dragon. Yeah, almost. Yep. And that's one of them. One of them is like women, and that's not to say that's their fault. That's everything is your own fault, right? Like what you get mixed up in, but it's such a powerful thing. I noticed that I veered towards that. So that's personally my thing. I want to talk about it because I was thinking about it the other day, and that's one of my biggest draws to going back to addiction.
Yeah.
That's why I think in the past 2.5 years, I haven't got into drinking because I've been really good. I figured out the trigger about, if I get close to like a girl, you have to take it for what it is and what you've learned. You're like, oh, I know where this is going, but that's the fucking problem, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that balance. It's kind of like, yeah, I could get involved, but yourself, you go 0 to 100 and addiction, it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Before we end this podcast, Coach, as far as addiction, from what you've learned, can you give this is a very general question, but then can you give some advice on someone that's dealing with addiction? I know we're still learning and we're going through our own shit, but we've been doing it for a while now. We've been addicts for a while now. What would you say, man? What's your biggest tips for people that are going through what, we've gone through, or personally what you've gone through?
I would say you don't have to hit your rock bottom, right? You don't have to wait till you lost everything. You're on the street, and even I think what's even worse than that is losing everything physically, and the material shit is you don't have to lose your mind, right? Like you can stop and get yourself back and bring yourself back to life. So that would be my one advice is you don't have to wait. If you're going through shit and you're having a tough time and you're not knowing where to turn, like number one is you'll be okay. Right. If you just reach out and ask for help, that was my hardest thing, was just kind of reaching out, just getting it off my chest. Granted, I got caught a lot, but you don't have to wait until your whole life is shit and you're so low where you're depressed and then suicidal and you're just feeling like shit about yourself.
Yeah. How a follow-up question to that is that how would you gain that self-awareness? Because I think that's like probably where we have to start off first, right? It's kind of like, well, people can just go 0 to 100 with addiction and then not even know, like, to be conscious about what you just said. It's kind of like, well, you don't have to hit rock bottom, but how do you get that self-awareness? Because you just don't want to put a Band-Aid on it. Sure. You want to get to the root of the problem. And I think that's what it is. It's being aware. And there's this quote, right? Like saying that, well, you have to be conscious of the unconscious. Otherwise, it's just going to go on autopilot. Yeah.
I would say to if be self-aware, man. Are you like, do like a checklist, like there's people out there that can have a drink. You can drink every day, and it doesn't mean you're an addict. Right. But I would say, take a personal inventory. Are you spending too much damn money? Are you losing your family? Are you losing your mental health? Are you losing your finances, your emotional stability, your mental stability? Like, check all those things. And if you are, probably time to get some help. Yeah.
Man, that's definitely great advice, Coach. And for me to you, I just want to say, because we don't normally get to talk to the gym because, you have your students to coach and then, we're all rolling and we're busy at times. But man, this was a podcast that I've been waiting for because looking from an outside perspective, like I guess maybe from a human to human or just an addict to addict kind of thing. Like I kind of know a little bit, and I know when someone's going through some shit.
Yeah.
And, but I got to tell you, man, I wanted to have you on here because I don't know if you hear this enough. You probably do. But then, man, you're one of the most admirable characters at that gym. Really. Because, man, you're nice to everyone. And when you are, like, nice to everyone, which is always, it's very, very genuine.
Yeah.
It comes off very genuine. It's not like you just have to be there. I know we have those times where sometimes we don't feel like doing stuff.
Yeah.
But then even at that, when you're talking to people and it's not your day, or maybe we just went through a bender or something like that, it's still very genuine. It's just innate in you to be a good, like, human being.
Yeah.
And as a man of like status at that gym, it's even more important, right? Because you and Jerry do lead from the front.
Yeah.
And even if we have our like fuegos and our vices and stuff like that. I mean, you can't change the fucking human. You can't change the human spirit, who you really are.
Yeah.
That's something that you can't fake. And I think people are really good. They have a good bullshit meter. You know what I mean? If someone's lying to you, if they're not the person you say you are, right? Like you can really see that in someone. But yeah, I just want to say that I think you're one of the most highly respected people. I definitely, you're one of the most people that I respect. That's why I wanted to have you on here and talk. And yeah, it's very, very admirable.
No, you're the man. I appreciate you, bro. Yeah. Thank you. And again, like, dude, you know, I think I like it's human nature to kind of always be worried about what people think and whatnot. But, you know, having the gym and all my boys at the gym and the whole team is, you know, knowing that, you know, it's like we talked about it. People know what's going on, right? Nobody's stupid. I feel like, you know, especially with me. But, you know, having all you guys be there and just kind of have my back through everything, it just, you know, means the world.
That's also,
you know?
Yeah, one last thing. That's also kind of in a way like a badge of honor too, because it is very respectable how, say, maybe a full person that's not an addict wouldn't understand. But if you are, or if you do understand, to be able to go through the ringer and then be at the gym and come back is a whole nother thing as well.
Yeah.
Because some people, like I said, don't get out of that, because when you're an addict, you feel like you're in a prison loop.
Yeah.
It's the same thing every time, right?
Yeah.
Take a line of this, and then take a line of that, go do my thing, take a line of that. It's just a never ending cycle.
Right.
So yeah, to be able to still go to the gym and be who you are is within itself.
Yeah.
Like very, very respectful. But
I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on, Coach. I really appreciate you. A lot of nuggets in here.
That was fun.
Fuck yeah.
Oh yeah. My man. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.